Prepare to experience the strongest revealed, myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
The magic of digital video. Did you see me move the background just now because it was creeping?
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is September 8th, 2020. Today is Tuesday. We're starting the week off on a Tuesday because yesterday was a holiday. And we're starting the week off with Coach Rob Regish in just a moment for the BluePrint Power Hour. But of course, before we do that, we have to pay a tribute to our title sponsor, Legendary Foods. The website is eatlegendary.com. If you go there, use the code SHR10 to save 10% off all of your Legendary Foods purchases. And they're coming out with some amazing new tasty pastries. I've gotten a glimpse behind the curtain. And these flavors are just bizarre. I mean, like decadent, delicious combinations that you've always wished that a Pop-Tart would come in. They're going to be coming as tasty pastries, which is 9 grams of protein, less than 1 gram of sugar. You'll love them. Check them out. Show them some love. Also, before we get underway, has Superhuman Radio affected you in any way? Maybe I'm scary and I cause you not to have good sleep because you have nightmares of my wrinkly face coming into your dreams. Maybe the show has taught you something that you use today and you benefit from. Whatever it is, tell me your Superhuman Radio story. Go to shrnetwork.biz/your story. Upload a less than 3-minute video, and we will use it. Even if you say something bad about me, we will use it. I promise you. I'm waiting for someone to say something insulting. Here's Rob's music. Hold on. I'm waiting for someone.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great. I can't believe you have a shortage of material, though, criticizing you.
I know. I say so many stupid things. I mean, there's got to be somebody out there who thinks I'm a jerk. I know there are a lot of people that think I'm a jerk. The truth is.
Well, my thought was, as soon as you know what happens, as soon as you make it, the haters start coming out of the woodwork. So, I'm sure they're out there. It's just a matter of encouraging them.
In 2006, there was a guy out in California. He was a personal trainer. He had quite a following at that time. And his name was Swole Cat, SWOLEKAT or CAT, I forget. He was a Latino guy. And I was still on Clear Channel at this time. And he sent me the most insulting email. I was shocked. He said I was an idiot. I didn't know what I was talking about. He's going to kick my ass if he ever sees me. I mean, all this stuff, right? So I told Anthony Roberts about it. He goes, I know the guy. He says, the guy's a jerk. And he said, but hey, he said, you should feel good. I said, why? He goes, you have your first hater. That means that you made it. And so Swole Cat was my first hater. Sadly, I learned that some years ago, he passed away.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, whatever the heck happened. I remember him. I think he was doing customized training and diet plans at some point.
Yeah, he was. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and a friend of mine took him up on that. But, I always wondered what happened to him and Animal and some of the other guys that were running boards back then.
Yeah, he passed away. It's sad. I'm sad. I mean, I didn't want anything bad to happen to the guy, obviously. But, yeah, he's gone. And now I don't have my hater. I'm sure there's other haters that have taken his place. So,
yeah, right.
Out there who talk bad about me. I'm looking at some. Let's see. Jeff Clifton says, imagine that a guy identifying as swole is a douche. Yeah, I know, right? Just go figure. A lot of people refer to themselves as swole. Their heads are swole. That's what's happening. So what's new with you?
Not a lot. Training's still going well. The chin up program that I concluded last week was by far the best one I've ever done. So I was happy to bring that to the Bulletin folks last month, and I haven't even more intriguing one coming up this month. So there's always a training article in there because nothing stimulates muscle growth other than overload and training. So it's important. And I don't know, I just like finding these gems. They're out there, but it's just a matter of sifting through all of them.
I train 4 days in a row, every body part. Okay. Today is my first day I'm taking off. And yesterday, Elisa and I went on a hike, someplace called the Falls of the Ohio. And I almost fell. I almost fell into the Falls of the Ohio. The Falls of the Ohio is the starting point for the Lewis and Clark expedition. It's historic. It's where they started to go west. And there's all fossils there, the Falls of the Ohio, because the glacier came through, I don't know how many millions of years ago, and carved this path into the stone. And so we went there to see the fossils. But after training my legs 4 days in a row, and this is me, right? I am a douche. I'm a douche because I go from not training at all to overdoing it. That's why I tear muscle, because I'm the poster child for what not to do. But I train 4 days in a row, and I've been doing 250 micrograms of IGF-1 EC, mechano growth factor, 3 times a day. And I felt like I could have trained this morning. We gotta be honest with you.
So let me make sure I understand. You did legs 4 days in a row?
Well, I did whole body. I did whole body. I did shoulders 4 days in a row, chest, back. I don't do anything direct for biceps and triceps, but I do a lot of pushing and pulling. And get a load of this. I squatted yesterday with the hip belt squat. Good. And I leg pressed after that. And I haven't done legs with any real intensity for probably the better part of a year, at least a year, maybe longer.
Right.
So naturally, when we went walking and hiking, and then I have my Caterpillar steel toe boots on. Each one of them weighs like 3.5 pounds. And my legs were. When I got home last night, I sat down on the sofa. I don't think I moved for 3 hours. I just didn't want to stand up after that.
I was going to say that was
great. I feel great.
That was really 5 days in a row.
Yeah, I could have trained this morning if I wanted to.
Wow, that's it's all about experimentation, right?
So Joseph Bissell, I'm going to ask you for a huge favor, brother. He said, Carl's show is hands down my single most important source of health and training advice. I was talking yesterday about Carl and Rob, talking about GH for regrowing cartilage in my joints. Yes. Why don't you do me a favor, Joe? Look at your phone and just say that. It'll take 15 seconds and then upload it to shrnetwork.biz/your story. Do me that favor, please. Please. In your words, please. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, look, I am a big fan of peptides, and I know which peptides work for what. And mechano growth factor, if you're training and overtraining, 250 micrograms 2 or 3 times a day, you will see magic. You will see your body bounce back so much faster than without it. So,
be nice if it regrew cartilage, but I guess only GH does that, right?
Yeah, it does. And growth hormone is magic too. I mean, people overuse it and they abuse it, but it's magic too. There's no doubt about it. All right, let's get on to the first question at hand. This one comes from Tommy King. I thought you made an interesting point a few weeks ago, the one about joint supplements being a lot more successful at what they do compared to muscle building supplements. And it is true. For someone with no injuries, though, do joint supplements hold any real value?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question. So if you had asked me even just a few years ago this question, I would have told you no. And I can even vividly remember I'm probably in my late 20s, I was reading about glucosamine and some of these other joint products that people were having success with, but concluding at the time, why would I use them? I don't have any injuries. And I guess on one level, that's logical. But again, if you ask me that question today, I would tell you the answer is a resounding yes. And here's why. So let's take glucosamine as our reference standard, right? It's the one that's most widely known, probably the most widely used. take a listen to just some of these study headlines, many of which are still being written. Glucosamine, life extension drug by virtue of its ability to mimic a low-carb diet. Glucosamine, the amino sugar that protects against deadly heart attacks and cancer. And acetylglucosamine accelerates production of muscle fibers. Glucosamine protects against lung and colon cancer, which yours truly, because of some testing I had done, I have the gene for. So it becomes all the more important. Now consider what we know about another well-known joint protector / anti-inflammatory, fish oil. All right, if there's something that's more commonly used than glucosamine, it's probably fish oil. And if ever there was a supplement with a body of research behind it showing benefits, it's this stuff, right? Understand that like glucosamine, fish oil also has other interesting properties, things that are important to bodybuilders, like improved body composition. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. It's probably not going to happen on 2 soft gels a day like some guys try to take. But if you eat enough fish and or take enough fish oil, you will see a pretty profound difference in at least your levels of body fat, given the same calorie levels, the same carbs, and so on and so forth. So all things being equal, high-dose fish oil is another quote-unquote joint supplement that contributes to bodybuilding, improve body composition, let's call it. Something else people take to improve joint function and keep inflammation down is curcumin. And you probably remember the headline, curcumin, natural clenbuterol, or something similar.
What about the study that was done on the curcumin with the C3 curcumin from Sabinsa? They did a study about 8 years ago that showed that taking 3 grams of the C3 curcumin post-workout improved protein synthetic response to training.
Yep. And that list goes on and on, by the way. And in particular, I'm talking about, we know curcumin plus fish oil is dynamite. It's probably the best over-the-counter anti-catabolic you can take, given it's been shown to virtually arrest a lot of the muscle loss during prolonged periods of inactivity. And I'm thinking back in my case to rhabdo. So I was put on the shelf for many, many months, but more months than I had ever taken off. And while it's true that I lost some strength while I was out of the gym, my measurements did not change one iota, nothing. Your mind will play tricks with you, but at the end of the day, the tape measure doesn't lie, right? The circles around my arms, chest, and legs were the same size. And that also goes for my waistline. So,
Well, I want to jump in here for a second, since we're talking about curcumin and fish oil, just for a second.
Yep.
Nothing is black and white, and people who search for black and white miss everything. In young individuals, they don't have a problem with recovery, and they don't have chronic inflammation that we develop as we get older. It's unavoidable. We're going to develop chronic inflammation as we get older. What we do know about older people who train is, because their body is constantly at a DEFCON 2, when they train, muscles don't recover as fast because the body is like putting all these other fires out, and it can't pay attention to the bicep that you want to grow. So we know from studies that NSAIDs taken by adult trainers improve the protein synthetic response, as opposed to young trainers where it stalls the protein synthetic response. So keep that, just stay with that for a second. Fish oil, or SPM actives from Metagenics, this is a very concentrated form of fish oil, just the resolvins. And curcumin, these are resolvins. What they do differently than NSAIDs turn inflammation off. Fish oil and curcumin don't turn it off. They speed it to its final steps. They resolve inflammation. They don't suppress inflammation. So think of it this way. As you get older, curcumin and fish oil are your friends because they will keep you growing. They will keep you growing because they shut off all of the chronic inflammatory signals so the body can focus on the protein synthetic response of the muscles you just hit. It's gold. Now, does it do that for young people? Probably not. Yeah. That's why don't get stuck in black and white. Like Joel Green likes to say, baby talk. Oh, fish oil good. Oh, fish oil bad. It's both. It's both. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just going to say you can obviously see the pattern here. So-called joint supplements are in reality better at building muscle and stripping body fat than most products purported to build muscle and strip body fat. It's just, they're looked at differently. And I think we need to start looking at them with a more critical eye. I have come across 2 additional ones that I think are going to be dynamite in combination. That remains to be seen, though. I'm using them right now. I just started this week. Provided that pans out, put it this way, you'll be hearing about it. I'm really excited about it. Sometimes you end up having to look in the oddest places, right? Versus where you think you would have to look. Like a lot of the research on, let's say, fat loss was originally seen in ketogenic diets given to epileptic children.
Yeah, they got ripped and lean.
Yeah, it's not always in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning.
Well, and the other thing you got to remember is building muscle requires soft tissue creation too, right? The soft tissue of a muscle is the walls.
Yeah. So
if you want to put more furniture in the room, you got to make the room bigger. In order to make the room bigger, you got to move the walls. You got to make them bigger and longer. So things like glucosamine and chondroitin, things like collagen, very, very underestimated in the muscle building effect. Let's take a question from a live viewer right now, Eric Swanee. So Eric says, maybe too late to get this one in, but for we're going to get it. What's your opinion of the effectiveness of other peptides as nasal sprays? For example, the picture below popped up in my feed, not talking about this various quality because I have no clue about their source. Okay, so the question is the viability and efficacy of intranasally delivered peptides. Yes, they work. They work. They do work. But they preferentially work on the brain first. So it's better suited to use intranasal delivery for peptides that you absolutely want to get to your brain, as well as systemic. I use intranasal melanotan 2, 50 micrograms a morning, 25 micrograms in each nostril. It doesn't tan me anymore, but I use it as a nootropic. I feel it. Like after I take it, within 15, 20 seconds, I feel awake. It makes me feel good. You can also use BPC 157 that way. You could use PT 141 that way. You can use thymosin beta 4 that way. You can use any peptide that way. However, just understand that the majority of it is going to get to the brain first before it gets delivered systemically.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It depends on the compound. Those things that work in the brain and quickly, and in particular stimulate the central nervous system, would be probably the best application. Do you remember there was an intranasal DHT product back when pro-hormones were legal? It was 5-alpha something or other.
I bet that woke your brain up.
Oh man, I tell you, before a big lift, it was better than your typical stimulants, even though it was an androgen and not technically a stimulant. You take it orally, it didn't do much, at least not that I saw. But man, you put it in an intranasal, and now that's a different situation. Much better for, like I said, central nervous system related products. Hits faster. I don't think it lasts longer in the system, although that probably depends on compound too. On the compound.
The next question comes from Gary Capetta. He says, what do you think about super slow lifting protocols? I remember a book years ago saying it was the greatest thing ever. I even bought the book, just never tried it. Is it worth looking into?
This really brought back memories because I know exactly. I can still see the book cover, and I can remember how heavily it was promoted in the magazines. And so I took a whirl on it, right? And so is it worth looking into? Well, let me just first say this. Any method is worth looking into. Why? Because it shows your willingness in learning something new or trying something new, as opposed to getting stuck in the 1970s with the Weeder principles. You never get out of that. The real question, though, is, and this goes for any of the training methods, does this method have a high success rate in the general population? Because everything, is going to work for maybe some people, but if it's only 5%, right, it's not going to be very good. Having said that, I can tell you I tried it almost 30 years ago, and here are my thoughts. First, it's some of the toughest training that you will ever do for two reasons, and only one of them is tough physically. Reason number one, it can be extremely painful training, primarily due to lactic acid accumulation, particularly on big movements like squats. You will learn real fast which part of the movement that occurs the most on, and it's the concentric. Reason number two is something a little bit different, but it precluded almost everyone from giving it a fair shake, and that's this. By lifting super slow, it forces you to use lighter weights, and in most cases, a lot lighter, right? I mean, think about it. This is not going to be, hey, let's slap as much weight on the bar as we can and do five super slow reps. No, you had to check your ego at the door and use something less than that. So, is there merit in it? Sure. But here's the rub. That kind of training can cause hypertrophy, but it's due primarily to the extended time under tension it puts your muscles under. So if you're performing squats in super slow fashion, which is to say 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down, might have even been longer than that, and you do five.
It was really slower than 5 seconds.
Okay.
It was. I mean, it was ridiculously slow, which there's a lot of evidence that time under tension only matters when you're trying to move fast. When you're trying to move fast and you're not able to, as opposed to purposely moving slow. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't recall the exact time under tension, but let's say it's 50 to 60 seconds a minute. That's a lot longer than what most people will do in your typical 5-rep set. So, of course, as a new stimulus, it's going to stimulate some growth. Here's the thing, though. You could get the same time under tension by doing 15 to 20 reps per set with a different weight, but like you said, moving it at a more typical rep cadence. So there are different ways to skin this cat. And I'm not convinced this was the best way, because there were other negatives. Negatives like you will find yourself, unless you're using a metronome or somebody else is timing it for you, you're going to count faster as the lactic acid accumulates. Right? And by deliberately slowing down the positive part of the movement, you're teaching yourself to be slow. Slow is second team, speed kills in a good way. All right. So fast athletes are generally much better and more explosive athletes. And being able to generate maximum power, of which speed is obviously a component at the drop of a hat, is important, in my opinion. So for those and other reasons I mentioned, this method usually failed more often than not in the real world. So the real take home insofar as rep speed is this. I would shoot for at least a 3-second negative. You might want to say 5 seconds, because like I said before, you're going to count fast. And so this way we wind up at 3 maybe. So a 3-second negative, and then on the concentric part, you're as explosive as possible. So why the slightly exaggerated eccentric? Well, there is at least one study out there showing that people that did that built 3 times the amount of strength and 5 times the amount of muscle over the months that they tracked them than those that just let the weight drop or used a 1-second eccentric. So I think that's something that we can all agree, right, is a really good thing. 3 times more muscle, 5 times more, strength, or vice versa. And my recommendation then would be, if you're going to play with tempo, shoot for a 3 to 5 second negative and be as explosive on the positive as possible. Yeah.
We just did a show last month, maybe it was the month before, for rehab. It showed that rehabbing a muscle, that the slow negative was the most important thing. They had patients that were having rehab done take a weight that they could slowly elongate the muscle, and then they were held back up into position, and all they did was the negative, and the muscle recovered faster and built. And the girl came on and said it's a fallacy that heavy negatives damage muscle. They don't damage muscle because they checked for the metabolites of damaged muscle fiber, and they said that heavy negatives do not damage muscle to a greater degree than traditional reps. The other thing that you have to remember is that if building muscle size is important to you, the pump is important to you, because the pump is what stretches the fascia of the muscle. We're talking about the walls again, right? You want the muscle to get bigger, you got to make the room bigger. And the pump is what stretches the fascia of the muscle, but also produces intramuscular growth factors that help to speed along the healing and recovery and protein synthetic response to that training. That happens when you are pumping the muscle.
And that's
the muscle is filling up with blood. It's filling up with lactate, and it can't get it out fast enough. So the phenomenon of muscle congestion occurs. This is emphasized if you use Be Strong bands to train with. You're getting that pump even with lightweight. That's what makes a muscle grow. You don't get that with super slow. You don't get it. You just don't.
Yeah. And that whole stretching that you just pointed out, that also happens with loaded stretching. And I went into that in the original blueprint on the magic of loaded stretch movements, which is another topic for another day. But I'll certainly grant you, of those 2 methods, most people would prefer to pump a muscle than to do the kind of loaded stretching, which can be very painful if you're familiar, for example, with DC training. It's a big component of it, and I would encourage you to at least try it. Try it once. Try everything once. You'll be better.
Carrie Kruger is watching live from South Africa. She's friends with Andre. We were just talking about Andre this morning, Carrie. Carrie says, is it possible to make a nasal spray with BPC 157? And if so, how? And would it be as effective as subcutaneous, which is kind of an adjunct to the question we answered a moment ago? Yes, it is effective. It will work. And just go to my YouTube channel, and I show people how to make their own intranasal peptides there. Very simple. Very simple. Awesome. You can make intranasal peptides literally in minutes in your own home. You have to buy some supplies. You have to buy the nasal spray bottles that have the metered sprayer. It lets out 0.12 milliliters of an ml per pump. And then you have to do the math, and you can use sodium chloride solution for injection. So it has some saline in it, so it's more gentle to the nostrils, but has a tiny little bit of benzyl alcohol, so you don't have to worry about bad bacteria growing in it. Right. And you can make all of your own intranasal stuff cheap. You don't have to buy it from these websites. You don't. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we have lots of questions lining up from those watching live. We'll get to all your questions, I promise. And we also have plenty of questions to answer from people who mailed them in. Go to CoachRobRegish.com. In the meantime, we'll be right back with more of the Blueprint Power Hour.
Want to improve mental energy and focus? Try the new Superhuman Stack from Pure Nootropics. Stack Dynamine, Salbutamine, Theocrine, and palmitoyl ethanolamide together and feel the lights go on in your brain. Find your perfect mix of these four. Carl likes 1 cap of each and 2 caps of Dynamine. Bam! Lights on. Go to shrnetwork.biz/superhuman stack, all one word, today, and get yours for 25% off plus free shipping. That's shrnetwork.biz/superhuman stack.
Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier, and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave it, you'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off. Did you know that your gut is referred to as your second brain? In fact, at least 90% of your serotonin, your happiness chemical, is created in your gut. If you don't take care of your gut, you won't feel good, period. Bioptimizers recently released Cognibiotics, a new breakthrough probiotic formula that is clinically proven to enhance your brain function, your mood, and overall mental health. Most probiotics often include conflicting strains or quantities and can cancel each other out. Cognibiotics delivers the exact strain you need in exactly the right ratios and quantities. With a 365-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee, you can try them out for yourself to start feeling the incredible difference Cognibiotics makes in your mood, mind, and performance. For an exclusive offer to my listeners, go to cognibiotics.com/SHR. That's COGNIBIOTICS.com/SHR and use code SHR10.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Welcome back. I'm going to put up, so this is the Superhuman Radio YouTube channel. There are actually 2 videos I found quickly. One, how to make intranasal PT141, and one, how to make intranasal melanotan 2. If you go to youtube.com/superhumanradio, you'll find those videos there. And you can extrapolate from either or both of those videos how to make any intranasal peptide, any. And they all do work to some degree, because everything that goes in your nose gets delivered systemically through the bloodstream. So there you go. So the next question comes from, his name is withheld. He says, I have some issues below the belt, so to speak. I'm a little north of 40 and have really hard time getting and keeping it up. He's talking about erectile dysfunction here. Is there anything natural that will help? Also, can you tell me about Viagra and how that works? Any side effects?
You know, I'm actually glad somebody came out and asked this question because it's something that guys need to talk about. It's nothing to be ashamed of or laugh at. And so, as you'll soon see, it also may be indicative of a much bigger problem. So, first things first, though, the inability, right, to get or maintain an erection could be due to a number of things. It could be poor blood flow. It could be you are not sufficiently aroused. It could be you're under a lot of stress or you have anxiety that's causing the issue. I think if there's one thing that I've learned in my 50 years on this topic is this. A lot of sex is in your head. The brain controls everything, and sex is no exception. Now, if you're bored or you're not sufficiently aroused, then have that discussion with your wife or your girlfriend, maybe both of them. I've known guys, obviously a lot of guys that have been married for many, many years that have no interest in sex at all. And it's multifaceted, right? You've been with the same person a long time, you get used to it. As you age as a male, your testosterone levels decline. That doesn't mean, increasing them is necessarily going to fix things. So there are a variety of different things I think that you can do to alleviate the problem, but really pinpoint what's going on. Okay, so here's a good example. If you're married and you have been for a while and you're not already doing this, have a date night, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. It really does help to jazz things up, right, for most men and women. You also may be suffering a decline in testosterone, and it's reached a threshold where that is causing the erectile dysfunction, and only a lab test can tell you where you are. I think most males, when they see the list of side effects, they know, whether or not that's likely it. But the issue is that in order to do something about it medically, you need to demonstrate that you are below the minimum, so to speak. It could also be, though, like I said, a lot of stress at work. That can do it too. Why? Well, we get back to the mind. If you're not thinking about your partner and you are thinking about getting fired because you didn't finish some project on time, then guess what? You can't perform. You also get guys that everything is, all the piping is there to make sure everything works, but they have performance anxiety. So if you're worried about getting it up, then guess what? You won't get it up because of that anxiety. So we get now, though, to Viagra. It is probably the best known of the PDE5 inhibitors, which causes Pardon?
I didn't say that.
Okay, so it causes the release of nitric oxide, which of course is what's it's how NO2 products work.
It's a vasodilator, and so the spongy portion of the penis is literally a blood sponge, and these vasodilators, phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors, they cause nitric oxide to attract blood into the penis, and they make the penis erect. Right. But they don't work for everybody, because if something you said earlier on is important, and that is, if you have plaque building up in your penis because you are borderline insulin resistant for the past decade, and you're not paying attention to your health, really, you're not sleeping well, and you start to get plaque buildup in your penis, the blood can't get in. And then you have to turn to ultrasound. If you have plaque buildup in your penis, you have to turn to ultrasound. And there are ways to do that. There are clinics that'll do that for you now.
Yeah, but think about it. If it's going on there, then it's probably going on other places.
That's why they say erectile dysfunction can actually be the canary in the mine that a guy has a heart problem. Another thing is, to circle back to anxiety for a second. When you're really out of shape, I mean, like if you couldn't get up and get on a treadmill for an hour and tough it out and walk, then your body will protect your heart. And sex is a very cardio strenuous process, especially the orgasm part. Anybody who knows you, when you orgasm, your heart's pounding, boom, 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 boom. I mean, you know, it's like the culmination of every system in your body pushing forward. And so what you find with a lot of guys who are just too out of shape to have sex is the body protects them. You can get hard, you don't stay hard. Like once you start having sex, anxiety literally comes over and your penis gets soft. And that's because a lot of times that has more to do with the fact that you are just friggin' out of shape. I remember when I was married and I was fat, I noticed I started to climax really fast. I couldn't last long. I didn't know what it was. I thought, well, I'm just getting old. But then I was diagnosed with my heart problem and I got in shape and I was able to ride a bike for hours and I was able to do cardio for hours and it was simple and easy. Well, guess what? My performance in the bedroom went up. You want to improve your performance in the bedroom, improve your cardiovascular conditioning. Because sex is just another cardiovascular event.
I was going to say, I think I could say that you need to be in good shape to have good sex, right?
And if you really want to know if your penis is broken, okay, every night your body goes through a maintenance process with your penis. It's called nocturnal tumescent erections. So you can take a little piece of paper, real thin, right, and make a loop out of it, put just a tiny bit of Scotch tape on it, and put it on your flaccid penis when you go to sleep. You can leave your underwear on if you want. Wake up in the morning and see if that paper has broken. Because your penis may get hard at night while you're asleep. Your body's relaxed. You have no stress. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you say, I know I get the best erections in the middle of the night, but there's nobody there to enjoy them. Well, there's nothing wrong with your penis then, right?
Right.
Then either cardiovascular conditioning is holding you back, or you have some severe anxiety. So your penis is filling up at night during the maintenance, the fire alarm. They lock the doors and act like we have a fire, and the penis gets nice and hard. But when you go to have sex, it doesn't. Nothing wrong with your penis. Now it's in your brain. Now it's in your heart.
That's a great example of someone who might think Viagra is the solution, but it's not, because that's not their, blood flow isn't their real issue. So to say.
Right.
The other side of the Viagra story is this, and you should know the positives and the negatives. Some of the side effects include things like transient vision disturbances in some people, double vision, in fact. That's probably the worst, the double vision that I've heard. I can imagine that's very scary. But also it will drop blood pressure. So you need to be careful if you're on other blood pressure type medications. It can be additive, so to speak. So finally, we get to natural solutions. Are there things that help? Yes, absolutely. I would tell you that a high quality tribulus or fenugreek, inclusive of at least 45-50% furostenolic saponins, helps. And those saponins, by the way, work via the same mechanism that Viagra does. They are precursors to nitric oxide. One fun fact related to natural alternatives. Before Viagra, the answer for this, the prescription answer, was actually based on Yohimbe. It was a Yohimbe product. It was either called Yohimbex or Yohicon or something like that. I
tried Yohimbe thinking that it was going to give me some sort of sexual advantage, and it just made me clammy and sweaty and feel like crap.
I was going to say,
take it. I don't know how people take it.
Even if it does work for you, in my opinion, the sides are just, they're not pleasant. They don't go along with sex. It makes your heart race, makes you clammy, makes you paranoid. It can certainly increase blood pressure. And so you show up with goosebumps on your arms that never go away and you're sweating profusely. How much of a good time you're going to have.
Yeah, right.
The
one thing that Viagra will do, I just want to jump in before you summarize. The one thing Viagra may do for the guys out there who have the anxiety, the idea that you took a Viagra, because your penis will get hard faster with Viagra, like when you were a teenager, like boom. And just knowing that for a lot of guys is enough to get them to perform better because they are suffering from anxiety. A lot of guys are suffering from anxiety. They don't understand. The older you get, you don't realize that you're angst-ridden all the time because you just kind of grow into feeling this way, like a drop, drip, drop, and you just kind of climb this ladder of anxiety where now all the time you realize something's not right. You don't know what it is, and it's anxiety. And then you try to perform, and it doesn't work. So Viagra could help mentally. Like you took it, you definitely do get hard faster, and you think, oh, I'm safe. I don't have to worry about getting soft here, and you'll perform. When in reality, a Valium may do the same thing for you by taking the edge off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that also could work against you, though. I mean, if you really don't need it, but you think you do, and then you don't have it.
Yes. A lot of guys go through that. And the other thing is that we're going to have a guy on the show in a couple of weeks so the acoustic wave technology that they use in clinics for men who actually do have real ED, where their blood flow isn't working into their penis properly anymore. They use ultrasound to break up that plaque and cause that spongy material inside your penis to go back to normal and function. There's now a unit you can buy and bring it home and do it yourself whenever you want. This guy won a lawsuit that he made this thing. It's called the Rocket. And you just take it home and do it yourself. You don't have to go to clinic and pay them hundreds and hundreds of dollars every time you go. I think you need like 10 treatments. This, you just do it at home, and then you could do maintenance whenever you want as well. So that's worth looking into as well for people who are convinced that their erectile dysfunction is legitimately from blood flow.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say in summarizing this is, whatever the issue is, get it addressed. But always remember this. Exercise is free to everyone, and either strength training or traditional cardio will improve, blood flow. And so whether it's psychosomatic or something else, make sure you're in the gym working out. And focus on cardiovascular conditioning if you want to be better in bed. I'm telling you, I experienced it myself firsthand. It was an eye opener for me, and it made sense to me. I was like, yeah, I guess if you're not cardiovascularly conditioned, then sex is just another cardiovascular event. That's all it is. Right. This question comes from Larry Nelson. He says, what's your take on immune boosting herbs? Anything in particular I should be looking for? Yeah, obviously this has become a red hot topic ever since COVID-19 and that whole mess has started. And that's largely because until supposedly recently, until they get a vaccine, there is not a whole lot the medical community could do for people if you contracted it, which of course is a very scary proposition. And now people are looking at alternative treatments. And so just to give you an idea, I had a friend of a friend who was infected and he had to be hospitalized. And so when I asked my friend, I said, well, what are the doctors doing for him? And he said, other than putting him on a, respirator? Ventilator,
which damages your lungs permanently.
His reply was as short as it was stark. He said nothing. They said there's nothing they can do. It's up to him. Up to him really means this. Your immune system is your first and last line of defense in beating this thing. And that's when people went into hyperdrive looking at all of these alternative therapies. Now, important to note, I'm not a doctor. I can tell you a few things about what I am doing, and then by extension, my wife and son are doing to address this. So, this is what I have my family on. So it's not, I guess, to be taken lightly. First and foremost, 8+ hours of sleep. Deep, restful sleep every night. Yeah. Sleep is only given lip service, relative to immune function. Yet, it underpins everything. So let me say that again. Sleep is absolutely vital to immunity. If you're not sleeping well, figure out how to fix it. That's a different topic for a different time. But it underlies all other things I'm about to talk about. A related fundamental to that is training with the appropriate frequency and intensity to boost immune function. And it's one of, if not the most powerful thing you can do to boost your immune function. Too much training, though, and you will whack your immunity. Too little, you don't get the boost. It's a fine balance, right? But if people are looking for me to put a stick in the ground, I would tell you, 2 weight training sessions or 2 resistance training sessions a week and 2 cardio is going to serve most people very well. It'll provide adequate number of recovery days, and it will give you that boost in immune function that you need. Now, another related fundamental is diet. You want to limit the amount of crap that you eat and instead get most of your nutrition from real solid food. More food than protein powder. And don't forget the vegetables. If you can't stomach vegetables for whatever reason, and there are a lot of people that don't like them, then I would encourage you to either blend or juice them, or in worst case scenario, something like V8 or light vegetable drink, which is not optimal, but it is miles better than nothing. So, anyway, as we get to micronutrients, which is what most people are looking for, they're looking for magic bullets. There really are no magic bullets, but these are mine in no particular order. So a highly bioavailable zinc and magnesium, owing to large-scale deficiencies, is desirable. ZMA as a supplement, a lot of people have heard it. It's acceptable. It carries a pretty low price, but highly bioavailable minerals. Vitamin D, obviously, in an amount that sees your blood levels rise, right, to ideally at least 50. I think most doctors want to see 30 on the test, but you should know where you are. Now, most doctors that I have seen that order the CBC, complete blood count, the vitamin D test is on there. If yours doesn't, then you need to ask to get it done pronto to see where you're at. 5,000 IU a day for most people is going to begin to start to move the needle. And likely more than that you will need in the winter months, at least up here in the Northeast. If you are just taking vitamin D and your levels are going nowhere, watch what happens when you add magnesium. Works every time. Those levels start going up, up, and up. Third, vitamin C. I take 3 grams a day religiously when I'm feeling my best. That's at no issues whatsoever. At the first sign of any trouble, I usually go up to 10 grams a day, and then I keep increasing it from there until I know I'm out of the woods. If I feel like I'm fighting anything off substantial, like a fever or those type of symptoms, it's 2 to 3 grams every hour on the hour until you reach bowel tolerance and you're in the bathroom, right? Which is indicative of a point of saturation. If you want a real idea of how good vitamin C is, I want you to Google studies or articles done by Dr. Richard Klenner. A lot of people will associate Dr. Linus Pauling as the father of vitamin C. The real truth is that Dr. Klenner was doing things with it a long time ago that were just unbelievable. Like, successfully treating polio. And when I say successful, I mean every case, this is before they had a vaccine, every case that was treated with adequate amounts of vitamin C resolved. I'm not a great math guy, but 100% is a pretty good track record, right? And he also used it against various strains of influenza and a whole host of maladies. In fact, one of the things that he said, and this is what I'll never forget, he said, there is not a virus out there that when vitamin C is given adequately dosed, it cannot resolve. Now, it'll surprise you as to how much he gave. In some cases, he gave 100 grams or more a day intravenously, but that should also illustrate to you the relative toxicity of vitamin C, which is nada. Now, if you ever get into a situation like that, or you're admitted to the hospital maybe, or a loved one is, I think you can and should request IV vitamin C. If you don't want to wait while they try, the powers that be try to talk it out and try to talk you out of it, have some liposomal vitamin C on hand and hammer that. It's almost as good as the injection. And there's no holier than thou gatekeeper in a white coat that you have to deal with. So I would have that waiting in the wings. Speaking of vitamin C and zinc, I came across an older, but nonetheless very interesting study just this morning on that combo, C and zinc. What made it interesting was the company that funded the research, Bayer, right? So here we have Big Pharma, Bayer, looking at vitamin C and zinc, and what did they find? They found that it shortened both the incidence and the duration and the severity of cold symptoms, right? This is not the first time that has been demonstrated, nor will it be the last. So if you're not using these two while you are sick, I would tell you that you're shortchanging yourself, and de facto, everyone around you, right? Because we don't want them to get sick either. It's not always all about us. Ginger, echinacea, elderberry, those have been linked in various studies to boosting immune function, as have various adaptogens like quercetin and others. Garlic in particular would probably be my go-to right out of the gate. Either the crushed cloves of garlic, or
I think they're better if they're just baked just a little bit, because it increases that allicin when you bake it in an oven for a little while. It gets oily and soft. I think it's better for you, to be honest with you.
That was going to be my next point, which is if you don't want the straight garlic, you can look for garlic supplements, but when you do, look for it being standardized to the active ingredient of allicin. The only hesitation that I would tell you in using any of these herbs is this: don't use them all at once. Start out with garlic and see how you do on that. If garlic isn't cutting it, fine, then you can add something else. But otherwise, you're not going to know, right, what's working. And then finally, Carl, this was something I think you had asked me to do, which was have some thymosin alpha-1 on hand. If I'm not mistaken, that is the peptide that's been linked to boosting immune function. And so I keep a couple vials in the fridge, and I have for over a year, just in case, right? So the bottom line here is there are a lot of vitamins, minerals, herbs, and even peptides that can help in the fight against this and other viruses. They are, however, only finishing touches compared to adequate sleep, good workouts, and good diet. That's not a sexy answer, but it may very well spell the difference between you living and dying. Now, that's pretty blunt, but it's also the truth. And at a time like this, in this situation with COVID and how it affects people, the truth matters, and that's truth.
So a couple things real quick. So, Carrie, we're going to get to your question on the other side of the break about Tribulus for women. But Andre Kleinhans, who is in South Africa, looks like he's joining us live today.
Cool.
And Andre, I think someone in your family has COVID-19, and Rob and I were talking about this morning. And what you need to do is you need to find a doctor to prescribe a very common antibiotic called azithromycin, azithromycin, otherwise in the United States known as a Z-Pack. 1,000 milligrams on day 1, 500 milligrams on days 2 through 5, and the virus will be gone. This is a fact. I guarantee it will work. You just have to find a doctor to prescribe that. and the virus will go. And everyone who has used azithromycin, who has contracted COVID-19, will say to you in 3 days, I was better. And that's because we just did a show about this with Dr. Blagascloni. This virus, the reason this virus kills old people and is more severe in elderly people, and the older you are, the worse it is, and if you're young, you don't have any symptoms at all, is because this virus uses senescent cells as the factory to reproduce. And as you get older, you accumulate more senescent cells. It's just a natural progression. And the FDA in the United States has authorized the use of azithromycin as a senolytic. That means that it's not just an antibiotic for people who need antibiotics to get over respiratory infections or bladder infections and stuff like that. But a single 5-day regimen of a Z-Pak, azithromycin, will vanquish and remove 97% of the senescent cells in your body. In fact, I take a Z-Pak once a quarter for this reason, along with my rapamycin that I take once a week now. I take 6 milligrams. I used to do 6 milligrams every other week. Now I've moved it to once a week. So you can absolutely see some fantastic results by using azithromycin and resolving this virus completely. We're going to take one quick commercial break. When we come back, we have lots more questions. We have live questions. We'll get to all of them, I promise you. Stay tuned.
Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom-made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
Mind Bullet is a kratom product derived from the coffee family to boost energy and creative juices. Mind Bullet comes in both pill and liquid form for the ultimate pre-workout supplement. When needing a little pick-me-up or to get through the morning fog, Mind Bullet will set your productive course fast. Go to shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet, all one word, today, and save 20%. No subscription required. That's shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet. Get yours today.
Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
When craving a snack, reach for Select Savory Snack Sugar-Free Biltong, the healthy alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. They use a fattier cut of beef, making it more tender and flavorful. For mealtime, choose from their 63 seasonings, which are sugar and additive-free. From chipotle rub to savory pumpkin spice, you'll find an option to suit your palate. Go to shrnetwork.biz/SSS today. Use code SHR15 to save 15% on any meat snack or seasoning. Savor the flavor today.
I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 25% off all beef and free shipping on orders of $100 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to Piedmontese.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again. Did you know that your gut is referred to as your second brain? In fact, at least 90% of your serotonin, your happiness chemical, is created in your gut. If you don't take care of your gut, you won't feel good, period. Bioptimizers recently released Cognibiotics, a new breakthrough probiotic formula that is clinically proven to enhance your brain function, your mood, and overall mental health. Most probiotics often include conflicting strains or quantities and can cancel each other out. Cognibiotics delivers the exact strain you need in exactly the right ratios and quantities. With a 365-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee. You can try them out for yourself to start feeling the incredible difference Cognibiotics makes in your mood, mind, and performance. For an exclusive offer to my listeners, go to cognibiotics.com/SHR. That's COGNIBIOTICS.com/SHR and use code SHR10.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
We've got a lot of questions piling up. So let's go back to one of the questions that was emailed in, and then we'll go back to a live question here on the video. So Drew Davidson says, I really have to hand it to you on Progenadrex and Synthogen. My training is so much better on those. Tranquilligen, though, is what my question is about. It really helps with my mood, like night and day. I assume it was the rhodiola, but when I use rhodiola by itself, it's not the same. Why is that?
Yeah, every so often I get an email about Tranquilligen, which usually doesn't get the same play as Progenadrex or Synthogen, but for whatever reason, it's making a huge difference in people's, day-to-day activities. But the relative question about, hey, I thought it was the rhodiola and I take that by itself, but it didn't work. That's not an invalid question or exercise, right? People assume XYZ is the ingredient that's working the magic. It just take a lot of that. It almost never ends well. And there's a couple different reasons for that. But let's stick with Tranquilligen since that's what his question is about. Rhodiola is like a lot of other adaptogens. You can buy really good stuff or really cheap stuff. Of course, when you buy cheap, you will usually wind up with less or no active ingredients. And it's a very simple equation. No actives, no results. In many cases, believe it or not, it really is that simple. There was an ecdy product that was put out a year ago that was getting a lot of play on the boards, and they analyzed it. It had 0 ecdysterone in it. So when someone comes back and said, hey, I tried that ecdy stuff, it didn't work for me. Well, that's one of the reasons why. And if you're skeptical, anyone with an internet connection can go out there and prove this to themselves. Go ahead, you go right now, you can Google rhodiola bulk raw, and you will get a ton of raw material suppliers, most of which are in China. Most people wind up at Alibaba's site, where, again, you'll find a multitude of them. After inquiring via email, you will typically get 2 things back: minimum order quantity, and price. But it's what you don't get that's usually the most telling. What you don't get is a certified third-party lab analysis for those raw ingredients. So I want you to ask for it. At which point, 9 out of 10 companies that entertain that request will send you back not a third-party, lab analysis, but a C of A, or a certificate of analysis.
Yeah, from the original manufacturer in China, when they just photocopy those and change the dates all day long.
I was going to say, these are a little like those fake degrees that used to be in the back of the shady magazine.
Some of the COAs are so blatantly nonsense. Like, they'll have an original assay date of 1997. And it's like, wait, well, this is 2020. Like, oh, no, we make so much, we still have it. It's still the same batch. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
If you're stupid enough to buy it, they'll be happy to sell it to you.
Yeah, that's honestly how a lot of this works. Now, if you do happen to locate good or superior material, I'll tell you up front, be prepared to pay for it. Upwards of 3 to 5 times the cheap stuff, depending upon your source and the actual stuff that you're ordering. If you happen to be shopping, for example, for something like Raponticum, it is not unusual to pay 10 times the amount, the cheap stuff, for a kilo of the good stuff, equal amounts, right? Especially if you're ordering the minimum quantity that they're going to quote you. And you'll see for yourself how it works. It's also true, however, that tranquilligen is a lot more than rhodiola. There's curcumin, there's a very strong ashwagandha that we use, there's astaxanthin, and there's 5-HTP. And so it's the same story with a lot of those ingredients, particularly the herbals. Now, I'll also tell you, quite honestly, that not everything you go shopping for is always going to be this difficult. It would be unfair, for example, for me to indict an entire country, China, just because they play games with some of the compounds that you may be looking for. For example, 5-HTP. 5-HTP either is or it isn't. You can argue all day about where you derive it from or synthesize it, but 5-HTP on a lab analysis, it either is or it isn't. There's a lot more fudge factor in things like herbs. And that's particularly true for adaptogens because there is no widespread understanding or agreement as to what the actives are. So consequently, it creates fertile ground for all these shenanigans that they pull.
Well, but and there's something else here that needs to be addressed as well.
Yep.
It's cultural. So Middle Eastern people expect you to haggle with them. If you've ever had to buy something like, let's say, a Persian rug from a Middle Eastern Persian rug dealer, you know that they will set a price on that rug that they really don't intend to get. But if you're stupid enough not to haggle, they'll sell it to you at that price.
Yeah.
But if you haggle with them, you'll find out that you can get that rug for a lot cheaper. It's cultural. It's almost disrespectful to just walk up and go, okay, I'll write you a check for that. They want that. Now, in the Chinese culture, they like to get over. They think that, like I remember a convenience store, and a Chinese guy was working there. And this was in New York when I was growing up. And he said, you Americans are so stupid. You never check your change. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I shortchange people all day long. They look at the coins, they put them in their pocket.
Yeah.
And he wasn't robbing them. To him, it was a game. It was like, if you're too stupid to catch me, then I'm going to, and China, they're the same way. If you buy something from China and take their COA, they think you're an idiot. They're like, okay, you're an idiot. But if you say to them, I want a small amount, or if you say to them, I'm going to order this, but if it turns out not to be, because that's why like companies that are used to doing business in China do business with something called a letter of credit. They don't send money, right? Schmucks send money. So they say, yeah, here's a letter of credit. Ship me this. They check it. They go, it didn't check out. They send it back. They reverse their letter of credit. So the Chinese manufacturers know we don't have money in hand, and this guy's telling us he's gonna check it. We better send real stuff, or we're gonna end up eating it. But it's a cultural thing too. It really is.
And that flows into my next point, which is basically this: if you don't have the benefit of years of experience of dealing with these type of folks and ingredients, you would never know it, right? I mean, you certainly wouldn't know it on an ingredient by ingredient basis. You reach a point in this game, at least I did, where you decide either I'm going to do this right or I'm not going to do it at all. I gave up trying to find bargain basement adaptogens decades ago. Why? Because I sat down and I figured out how much money I was wasting trying to save money. I don't know how any other way to put it, right? It's just, it's counterproductive. So at the end of the day, I'm glad my products are working for you, Drew. I really am. It's something that if I thought I could get the same effects with a single ingredient like he's proposing here, then I would have done so.
Yeah.
My hunch is that anyone that's listening to this that wants to do a product and do it right, you're going to do the same exact things that I'm proposing, especially after learning the hard way like I did. So I appreciate your question, though.
Tommy D says he just got back from surfing trip in Mexico. Lucky Tommy. He says, haven't trained in a month. Obviously, I've gotten plenty of exercise per se. What's your favorite ultra abbreviated go-to strength hypertrophy plan? after an extended layoff, and I'm age 49. Thanks.
If we're talking about truly abbreviated routines, in my mind, it's very simple. It's an upper-lower body split. So one day you're working your legs and your abs, and the other day you're working push-pull upper body. On your lower body day, I'm picking trap bar deadlifts, maybe 5 sets of 10, 3 to 5 sets. Why am I doing that? It works more muscle than any other movement, even the squat. Okay. If you want to add additional leg work after that, the leverage squat, the leg press, whatever, by all means do so. But make sure that you're doing justice to those movements and progressively increase the total tonnage over time. The push-pull day, I'm starting out with 2 very effective movements that are a hybrid of body weight and weighted movements. So what am I doing? I'm doing weighted dips and weighted chins. Now, if you want to go bench and you want to go do, seated cable rows and you want to go do this and that after that, that's fine. But I'm telling you now, if you keep your workout to 30 minutes and follow the laws of progression, then you will be shocked at how well abbreviated training works. In fact, it has been said, and I agree with this wholeheartedly, abbreviated training is usually the last thing trainees will try when trying to overcome a plateau. It should be the first thing.
Yeah.
Should be the first thing.
Yeah. There's so much that can be done in a 30-minute workout. And then you just have to look at guys like Lee Haney and the whole concept of stimulate, don't annihilate. I mean, Lee Haney built a Olympia level physique with short training sessions. I don't think he ever trained longer than 40 minutes.
7 times, right?
7 times.
He's got 7 Sandos.
So Jeff Clifton says, gonna up my carb intake with mainly sweet potatoes, organic jasmine white rice, and bananas. What are Rob's choices for carbs?
I would tell him that his picks are exceptionally good. I've also had a lot of success. I remember years ago eating, believe it or not, cream of wheat. I would add to that, intra-workout or after the workout, carbolin, which, I've discussed on this broadcast before. It is a very savvy, let's call it engineered carbohydrate that your muscles will soak up during and after the workout. The only other thing I would tell you is this: try to eat leftovers. Why? They have half the glycemic index in most cases of freshly prepared food. And Carl, if I'm not mistaken, you broke that on your broadcast long ago.
Yeah, because baking your potatoes and then putting them in the refrigerator and eating them the following day converts a lot more of the starch to digestion resistant starch or fiber.
Yeah.
So, it lowers the glycemic index dramatically. I'll tell you what, I have been eating more carbs, about 100 grams a day. And I love rice. I love rice. And I take basmati rice. I made it this morning. I make cream of rice from whole rice. I take whole rice, put it in the bullet, turn it upside down, turn it into a powder.
Yep.
That makes the best cream of rice. I put water in it. I put it in the microwave for 28 seconds, whip it up, and it's so good. And I love cream of rice right now. And I had rice with my lunch today, too. I had basmati rice. I think rice is really a safe bet.
You get a lot of carbs in that way.
A lot of carbs. But the other thing is that they don't have the anti-nutrients. The reason I like white rice is because the husk has been removed, and that's where the anti-nutrients are. That's where the stuff that leads to autoimmune disorders. Dave Hartnett says, has Rob been able to experiment with the GAA, glycosiamine and creatine combo, BluePrint Volume 9, Issue 8, and had failure with a $34 shipping charge?
Well, the short answer is I started that yesterday. However, I was onto this years ago, and so I know pretty much what's going to happen. What he is referencing, he's given away a few bulletin secrets, but there is a compound out there that is in the guanidino-related creatine type of compounds that has been found to raise levels of phosphocreatine, not only in muscles, but in the brain, even better than creatine.
Really?
Not only that, but if you thought that was something, they found that when you use them together in a certain way, they beat an equal amount of creatine hands down. Now, I will also tell you that there are one or two negatives to be concerned with that are easily addressed by using one other very inexpensive supplement. But this is something, quite frankly, that has more human studies behind it, showing benefits than any other compound I have come across. And I included every single one of them in last month's issue. And that was just, that was one of the 4 topics that I hit. But yeah, it's a great combination. I think the best part of it is this. You get all the benefits of creatine and then some without the water weight. So for a guy like me who's working hard on upping his weighted chins and weighted dips and handstand shoulder presses,
Right.
That is money.
Yeah.
You know, especially when an equal amount of creatine mono. My wife was telling me this the other day. She's like, "Oh God, you're not going to go on that creatine again." I get moon face. I blow it up with a ton of water. And I'm not so concerned about the aesthetics, but God, every single pound, whether that water's in your muscles or not, is working against you on a 1-arm chin up or what have you.
Right.
You know? Yeah, this is it was something I'm really proud of. One of the better ones that I brought forth.
So Carrie Kruger, who also watches the show live from South Africa, said, would Tribulus be a good sup to take for a perimenopausal, menopausal female to balance out hormones?
Well, I can only tell you this.
Wait. Help build muscle mass or just make you feel more superhuman again. It's not just a male supplement, is it?
He's absolutely right about that, because what I was going to say is this. Mass's top product, the company that makes Synthogen, their top seller for decades has been a Tribulus-based product, adaptogenet. I am told, and I believe it, that almost as many females buy that as the men. And I can sort of understand why, because if we go back to the active ingredient, which are furostanolic saponins, precursors to nitric oxide, that's going to increase blood flow for the ladies, right down to the genitalia as well. We also know that in a good number of people, Trib will increase your libido. And where is it doing that? In the brain. You know, they're working out right now exactly which receptors in the brain are affected by said furostanolic saponins. And so while it's true, Tribulus is not going to boost your testosterone, anyone's testosterone, to supraphysiological levels, it's also true that it's a great libido boost and blood flow potentiator for both men and women. And about a year ago, I did a special on Trib in the Bulletin. It gives the 2 Trib-only brand name products that I recommend. You need to be careful, and I'll just offer this one tip. You cannot standardize Trib for any more than 60% saponins. So if you see a product proclaiming 98% saponins like I've seen, it's BS. 60% is the best they can do.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good news. Good to hear. So there you go. That's Carrie's question. We're going to take our last commercial break, and when we come back, we have the BluePrint tip of the day with Coach Rob Regish. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Superhuman Radio.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
You've heard me talk about the chill pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes anxiety away, which I have a small history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything and everything I could that would be healthy for you, to help with anxiety. Because I'm talking, out panic attack. The chill pill was the first thing that I found that actually, in the middle of a panic attack, I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the chill pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman. Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave it, you'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off.
When craving a snack, reach for Select Savory Snack Sugar-Free Biltong, the healthy alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. They use a fattier cut of beef, making it more tender and flavorful. For mealtime, choose from their 63 seasonings, which are sugar and additive-free. From chipotle rub to savory pumpkin spice, you'll find an option to suit your palate. Go to shrnetwork.biz/SSS today. Use code SHR15 to save 50% on any meat snack or seasoning. Savor the flavor today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
So today I come into the studio after a long 4-day weekend.
Yep.
Every piece of equipment is dead. I found that I go to use my cell phone and my router is dead. I'm like, the router's out. The modem's out. Every computer's out. My uninterrupted power supply went dead. This is an hour before the show. I freaked out. I was like, I'm going to have to cancel the show. I already had no show Monday. I can't afford to have no show Tuesday.
Right.
I hit my Apollo and put it on. I got the app and I put it on the relax mode. And I just took and literally felt awash with like calmness. This thing really works. I don't know anybody who's using it. If you got it, Derek Trombetta loves it. I know people who use it right before bed to go to sleep. But when I need a pick me up, I use this. If I'm in the middle of the show and I'm starting to get tired, I use this. But today I used it to relax, gathered my thoughts because I took the motorcycle today. I can't go. A UPS is heavy. It's like 35, 40 pounds. I can't put that in my saddlebag unless I want to fall down while I'm riding. And so I thought, okay, what do I do? I got relaxed. I went next door to Brian, my buddy Brian. I said, hey, can you drive me? He goes, here, just take my car. I went, boom, boom. I bought the same exact UPS. I literally swapped it out. Boom, back on the air just that fast.
Wow.
But I got to tell you, this thing really works. There's no doubt in my mind it works. You hit that button or you use the app. I like to use the app because I can see what I'm doing. You feel it. All of a sudden, it's like you just become relaxed. It's like, wow, this thing is amazing. Like this is mood on demand. Mood on demand. That's what this is. We have a special. I think you heard the spot. Apollo Neuro offers my audience, I believe, 15% off. I'll put the link up here in a second while you're doing the BluePrint tip of the day. I'll put it up here for people who want to know.
Sure. So the tip of the day is simply this. It's why leaving a legacy needs to be on your to-do list. So when I started to lift weights, I did so for a number of reasons. But I think more than anything else, I wanted to stand out, right? I wanted to be different in a good way. You know, some people don't like to stand out. They don't like to be different. I did. I figured if I could get to 250 of mostly muscle, then that would certainly do it. And lo and behold, I was able to do that. The only problem is that shortly after I got there, you know, the whole world decided to start lifting weights and getting jacked. So, in a crowd of regular 9-to-5 folks, I certainly look different. But in the gym, right, guys anywhere from 225 to 275, they're now a dime a dozen, right? A 300-pound muscular person is still somewhat of an anomaly. But every gym, hardcore gym anyway, has a few. In order to really stand out then, I needed to do something different. Every person that gets into this game is usually good at something. They might be exceptionally lean. They might have really big joints and, you know, a robust endomorphic build, and they're capable of lifting, you know, Wade Johnson like weights. They might really excel at calisthenics. We all have our strengths, but that's not what's important. What is important and what's going to remain long after you're gone is your legacy. And there are two things that you need to do to cement that. I think number one, you need to be a student of the game and know a lot. And number two, it's your responsibility to use whatever gifts you were given to help other people. So at age 50, I can still do some impressive things in the gym, but the numbers aren't really anything special. You can easily find more impressive stuff elsewhere. Almost everyone listening to me, though, has a similar story. And in order to stand out, then you need to cultivate expertise and, like I said, enrich other people's lives with it. Expertise, though, only comes with time. There are a lot of things to try in this sport. It'll keep you busy for the rest of your life, right? Different training protocols, different diets, certainly different supplements and drugs. Many people have done that, or they continue to do it, trying different things out. What most people haven't done and what they need to do is write it down. You know, let me be the first to tell you, the mind is a fickle thing. Hard lessons are some of the best to learn because they stick. You know, you never forget the sting of some of them. You blow a disc out using too much back on a deadlift, and I guarantee you'll never forget it because you might be stuck with that pain the rest of your life. The trouble is the 21-year-old kid that you've been watching who's been hitching every rep of every deadlift has never gotten the memo. You can help him, though, by broaching the issue with him in whatever form or fashion that you desire, which admittedly can be a difficult thing in some cases. Yet, think about this. You well may save that kid from a lifetime of pain, right? That prevents him from achieving something extraordinary, which he may have been capable of. Many of you know as much or more than I do. Even if you don't think that's the case, I want you to start writing about it. I want you to put pen to paper concerning things that you have learned. And don't worry about the flow of things. Don't worry about how little you write or how much you write. Just write. If you pen a collection, if all you do in your life is pen a collection of 20 things that you learn that will help someone else, the information in those pages could help them in ways you can never imagine. Thoughts and words are very powerful things. They have ended lives and they have saved them. They have started wars and they have lost wars. They have inspired generations of people to go on to do amazing things. When you are compiling, what you've written, or when you're done, rather, compiling the information, get it out there. And there's no better time in history where you can reach more people than right now. Buy a URL for $2 or $3 and either give the book away or pamphlet or whatever you want to call it. Either give it away for free or charge some nominal amount. The original blueprint was 25 pages long. I can assure you, I never thought in a million years it would lead to SHR, right? And not everybody's going to be that lucky, but you never know. You might be more lucky. Dan Duchesne's original Underground Steroid Handbook. People don't understand this. They think it was this big, Bible on steroids. This thing. You know how long it was? 18 pages. 18 pages garnered him worldwide fame and influenced every succeeding generation of lifters to this day that were interested in those compounds. Alternatively, you might not become an all-knowing training, diet, or supplement guru, but you most assuredly have something to offer to someone, something that can change their lives profoundly for the better. You might, for example, have a disability, but despite that disability, you've accomplished something more than the next 100 men. Right? I had the opportunity to talk to Andre last week. He's an absolute inspiration. And believe you me, when I hung the phone up, it will set you on fire. Right? You're thinking about this, like, my God, he's accomplished a dozen things, any one of which would be the cherry on top of a Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, it makes you feel like you could accomplish anything. And there are many, many people that need that today, because not everyone is as confident or as jazzed to go out there and do something extraordinary, maybe as you are. So it's simply a matter of finding the gifts that you were given and then sharing those gifts with those people that'll listen and benefit from them. I honestly feel like this is why we are here. We're not here to make a lot of money. We're not here to surround ourselves, with toys. And we're not here to just take. We're here to give back. And it's imperative that you do so before you go through the checkout line. Even if you never hear from a single person whose life was touched by something you said or did, you will have done your part. Because at some point, the day will come when they put you in the ground. The ride's going to be over, and only one thing will remain: your legacy. All I'm saying is make sure that you leave one.
I'm having an allergy attack. That's my legacy today. I've been off the air, blowing my nose, sneezing. coughing. My eyes are tearing. Oh, man. Okay, we got a couple comments and questions we got to get up here. I didn't see them originally. Chrissy Fox says, what does a Z-Pack do to your microbiome, though? Nothing. In fact, we know that azithromycin is an extremely weak antibiotic, but it's a powerful anti-inflammatory, and I'm sure you can understand why if it gets rid of senescent cells. I take a Z-Pack twice a year now. Does nothing to the microbiome, nothing at all. Very, very weak. And then we had another one here. Hold on. These didn't pop up for some reason because of the stupid security settings on Facebook. Massive constipation while cutting carbs at the moment, like really bad. What can I do? Psyllium husk.
Yeah, I was going to say, I covered this, I think, last week. It's not uncommon, right? In those people that go on low-carb diets, they don't get enough fiber. A spoonful or two of that psyllium husk
Metamucil
will take care of your problems, trust me.
Yeah,
and it'll improve the glycemic index of the foods that you do eat.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. I love these shows. Thank you. All right, that's it. I think that we covered everything. We answered every question. We didn't leave anybody out in the cold.
Cool.
Now I can get off the air and hack my brains out. Oh, for those of you listening to the podcast, if you go to shrnetwork.biz/Apollo Neuro, all one word, APOLLONEURO, save 15% off. Mood on demand, baby. That's what I call it. If you want to be alert, you set it to the alert mode. You want to be relaxed, you set it to the relaxed mode. It works. It really, 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 really works. So check it out. That's it for today. We got great shows planned for the rest of the week. Hope you can tune in live. But if you can't, there's always the podcast and the video replays. Please share the show and help someone. There you go. All right, Rob. Thanks a lot, brother.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you tomorrow.